Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we're going to look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation if there is anything, and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Taurus. Let's jump on in. We're going to start with the overall energy of this connection through oracle cards, and then we're going to dive deeper into the reading with tarot as we progress. So let's see what we've got here. Taurus, we're looking at your side of this connection. Overall energies, Taurus's side of this connection. Ooh, okay. I was disillusioned. You still miss me. With underlying motives. Okay. So I feel like, before I get into anything, I feel like there is this underlying understanding that this person does care about you. I'm not saying you don't doubt that. I'm not saying their behavior doesn't make you doubt that. But I do feel like there is kind of this belief, and I don't think it's wrong, that this person does love and care about you, but that their behavior doesn't really reflect that. And the I was disillusioned card is often the shattering of an illusion. You know, when we meet somebody, we often see them through the lens of like who we think that they are or who we want them to be. And sometimes we get to know, as time goes on, we really get to know someone, their true colors kind of start to come out and we start to see them in a different light. And I feel like that's what kind of happened here, but I feel like it's hard for you because you know that this person has feelings, like you know that they care about you. And I don't feel like that's an incorrect belief, but I do at the same time feel like there is something that is keeping them not showing up in the way that they really need to for you. And I don't know what that is yet, but I do feel like it's like you saw them one way and then, you know, who they really were, true colors kind of started to come out. And I feel like, but the feelings are still there because I feel like there's a very deep empathy that you might have for this person, you know, this understanding of like maybe what they've been through, or it's like you know them, like you know their soul, you know their heart, but like the way that they act doesn't really reflect those deeper things that you really know about them. So it kind of creates almost this disconnect from like who you really believe that they are, like who they really are to you, and then like who they show up as. Then you have this behavior which is like completely opposite, which can make things very confusing, especially if you do feel kind of like a deeper soul connection. I do feel like this person's very important to you too, which makes things a little bit even more complicated. All right, this person's energy toward Taurus. Some people never change. So, yeah, okay. You have trust the universe, learning to forgive, wrong time and place. It's like the energies are misaligned. It's almost like you see in this person, you see their true potential. Like I said, like you see their heart, you see their soul, you know them. You know them on such a deep level. And I feel like you know they're a good person, you know that they care. But it's like, then there's that disconnect, right? Between like their behavior. And it's almost like you've been waiting for that disconnect to go away, for this person to become this person that you know that they can be, not just for you, but for themselves too. which I feel like has been a really difficult process for you, because there's this energy of wondering, like, well, why won't they step into this version of them? You know, if I know, especially if you like get glimpses of it every now and then, or if, you know, they show progress in some areas, but then, you know, that they kind of start to regress in others. And it's like there's this just misaligned energy here. It's almost like if you would have met them maybe before you've grown, or before you healed, or like if you would have been with them like before, or maybe you were with them before, and it's like it aligned then, but then you've grown, you've healed, and now there's this misaligned kind of energy here. I don't feel like this person has an intentional, like, I don't feel like they intentionally try to hurt you, or intentionally try to create issues in this connection. I feel like, again, there's something going on that's creating this disconnect from like their potential and who they could really be with like who they're showing up as. And with this Trust the Universe card, I feel like you're really being asked to trust the universe when it comes to not just what's happening in this connection, but in your relationships and your love life in general. Truth of the connection between Taurus and this person. You don't love me. Okay. Commitment. Okay. And then it is for the higher good. I definitely feel that what's happening in this connection is happening for the highest good, for both people in some way, shape, or form. Not just because of this card. I actually was going to say that before I pulled that. But I feel like it's hard because you're showing up with like a lot of love and understanding and empathy. Because again, I feel like it's like you see who this person really is, you love them, you accept them for who they are, but that doesn't mean that same time that you're going to tolerate behavior, right? You're not gonna just like sit around and like let this person walk all over you. So I feel like it's hard because you know their heart, but like who they're showing. I know I've said this a lot, but I feel like this is such a core theme and we're going to keep building on it. So bear with me if I'm repeating, because remember, I'm putting the pieces together, you know, at the real time as you're hearing this. And I feel like the more that they don't show up as the person that you know that they could be, you have this tendency, and we all have a tendency to do this, but you have this tendency to take it personally and to look at this from this perspective of, you know, they're not being the person that I know that they could be for me because they don't see me as worthy, or they don't see me as valuable, or they don't see me as someone who is deserving of being treated well, or whatever the case is. I don't feel like that's the case at all. I feel like this person, there's probably something going on in their energy. I already kind of, especially with like the wrong time and place card, like I feel like there's something going on that's like keeping them from being able to either fully commit to you or fully show up for this connection or be the person that you know that they can be for you and for the connection. So I don't feel like it's that they don't care at all. Like I actually do feel like this person cares a lot. I just feel like their behavior, it doesn't really reflect that in a lot of ways. But I don't feel like it's coming from this intentional, like I want Taurus to think I don't care. Like I don't feel like that's what it is at all. I feel like there's something else going on here. And again, like I said, I do feel like what is happening in this connection is happening for the highest good here. Okay. I hate when my table is crooked. A lot of people have accused me for being a Virgo. Not accused me, like it's a bad thing to be a Virgo, but I've said that I'm a Virgo because of how I can be with wanting things to like look nice. I'm very much not. I don't have any earth in my chart, like almost at all. I'm very fire sign energy with a touch of air. All right, let's get overall theme of this connection for you, Taurus. This kind of helps me, just kind of helps add a little bit of deeper energy, a deeper understanding. Follow your heart. I feel like this is what you're trying to do, but it makes it hard. Yeah, it's like it makes it really hard because... Did something turn around? Did you see that? Did it flip around? No. Okay. It makes it hard because you're like, you see that potential and you see all that this person could be. And I feel like, then you have synchronicity here. And I feel like it's extra hard because, you know, you're like, well, what if they do change? Or what if they do become this person that I know that they could be? Like, what if I miss out on that potential? What if I miss out on what all of this could be? But then on the other side, you're like, but I can't continue to do this. Like, putting up with this is killing me, or it's hurting me, or it's putting me in a really tough place, you know, mentally, emotionally, whatever the case might be. So I feel like there's a little bit of being torn. It's like you're not unaware that things are unfair, but you're also kind of struggling with that pull that you really have to this person, and specifically to the person that you know that they can be. And the synchronicity card, you know, that could be you're seeing, you know, things about them everywhere. You're seeing their name everywhere, their car everywhere, you know, kind of continuously being drawn back to this connection. You know, one of the misunderstandings of divine signs is that a lot of times we'll put a specific meaning to them. Just because you're seeing synchronicity about a specific person doesn't mean like, oh, that means that you and this person have to be together. A lot of times it just means that the universe is trying to draw your attention to something, whether it's deeper healing or whether it's a different perspective or growth or forgiveness or whatever the case might be. And I feel like there's something here that Spirit is trying to draw your attention to when it comes to this connection, ultimately to help you on your path moving forward to receive the love that you deserve and desire, whether or not that does end up coming from this person, whatever that does end up looking like. But let's see, Taurus, let's start with looking at your side of this. This is for Taurus's side of the connection. The Sun in reverse. So it's obvious that you're unhappy. Things are not where you want them to be. And I feel like that's something you've been struggling with for a while. And then you have this Nine of Wands. You know, I'm not gonna lie, this isn't usually what I see in the Nine of Wands, but for some reason the Nine of Wands is really giving indecision. But why is that? Okay, so it's like there's this this disconnect between like your intuition and your heart in some way. Because I feel like there's been this, you've been in a cycle with this person for a while. And I feel like, and it goes back to this, the follow your heart with synchronicity. I feel like you're at this disconnect because you truly do love and care about this person. I can tell that, you know, very much by this energy. I can tell that you care. I can tell that this connection means a lot to you, that this person means a lot to you. And I don't feel like that's something that should be dismissed in any of this. But then on the other hand, it's like intuitively you can understand that where things are at, like, are not okay. And I know that I'm repeating, okay? I do. I'm going to add to this, I promise. And I feel like, you know, you've been in this for a while. And you've been, or dealing with this for a while. I don't necessarily know if you've been in the connection, but you've been dealing with this connection for a while. And slowly, I feel like you've started to, I don't know if like awaken is the right word, or like, I don't want to say come to your senses because that's not fair either. That dismisses feelings. But it's almost like you've started to see things a little bit clearer. And I think a lot of times our feelings for other people can kind of overshadow how they're making us feel. You know, we have this tendency to be like, oh, well, I care about them and I love them so much. But then you turn around and you're like, but they're making me feel so lonely, or they're not making me feel loved or chosen or valued in the way that I deserve and desire. And that can really create a tear, right? Because you're like, but I care about them so much. I have such strong feelings for them, but they kind of make me feel like crap sometimes or a lot of times. And I feel like the more that things have have improved in this connection, the more that you've kind of gotten to this point where you're like, I can't keep ignoring the way that I feel. Because I do feel like you tried to push it to the side for a while and you were like, well, maybe things will get better, or maybe they'll change, or things will go back to how they were in the beginning, or whatever the case was. But I feel like in the process of that, you really put up a lot. And I feel like you kept seeing them through the lens of all of the good, wonderful things that you see in them, which is not a bad thing. Seeing someone through the lens of love, through the lens of empathy, is not a bad thing at all. In fact, I think this world would be a much better place if more people did see other people through the lens of love and empathy. But at the same time, I feel like that love and that empathy that you've had for them has kind of blinded you a little bit from the way that things are unfair for you in this connection, and the way that how you're being treated like isn't okay. And I feel like it's not that you were like totally unaware of it, but almost like maybe justifying it or pushing it to the side, because again, deep down, it's like, you know that they care about you, you know that they love you, like you've seen it, you've seen them show it to you, or whatever the case is. But then again, they do things that just completely, harm you, or kind of go against how it is that they really feel. So it's like you're torn here between like your intuition and the way that you really feel about them. And I think that that's kind of kept you in this like standstill in this connection, because it's like you're constantly maybe arguing with yourself about it. Like it's kind of like on some days you're like, oh, I hate them so much, I can't deal with it. But on other days you're like, oh, I love them and I care about them so much. Like you have the grief and the sadness, but then you have that pull toward the connection. And I feel like for anybody, that's an incredibly complicated mix of emotions to try to analyze and work through. So I do feel like it's like things are not as black and white as I feel like sometimes the energies can make it seem, because it's like, I do feel like you see a lot of good, in this person, and they do have a good side, and you see that good side sometimes. But then, on the other side, like things start to happen, or things come out, or their true colors show, or their shadow side comes out, whatever, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like then you're kind of left being like, well, this isn't okay. And it just kind of, it keeps perpetuating this cycle. So it's hard, because it's like you're connected to this person, especially seeing the Hierophant with the High Priestess. I feel like you're connected to this person on a soul level, and I feel like you're almost connected to like their like higher self, if you will. So it's like them, you recognize them, you see them for all that they could be, but then like the version of them that they're capable of showing up with like in this 3D material world is like not in alignment with that. So there's that disconnect that's happening with you, because you see that potential, right? But then who they're showing up with is not that potential. That's the same disconnect that they're experiencing between their potential and their current level of consciousness, growth, healing, whatever you want to call it. So it's complicated and it's difficult, and I can definitely understand why this has been a challenging thing for you. But I also at the same time feel like the reason that you keep kind of coming back or getting drawn into this is because there is some sort of lesson that's needing to be addressed, some sort of healing that's needing to happen here. Because again, we did have that, it's for the higher good. But let's just keep going. Let's see what we've got here. This person's energy toward Taurus. And I think that that's where, like, one of my favorite sayings, I don't even remember where I saw it now, it's just kind of become a part of my vocabulary or my teachings, but is that unconditional love does not equal unconditional tolerance. Unconditional love, unconditional empathy, unconditional understanding are all incredibly important. But that does not mean you tolerate behavior just because you love and care about somebody and their situation. This person's energy toward Taurus. Ooh, okay, the Emperor, the Knight of Wands in reverse. So this person struggles with some self-sabotage. I feel like, yeah, they do. It's like they have a dual personality kind of thing going on. Like, I'm not saying they are a Gemini, but I feel like it kind of has that Gemini energy to it, where it's like they can kind of be like two different people. It's like they can be this like knight in shining armor, or and remember, that's not trying to be gender specific with that, like whatever, however that resonates with you, but or like this just completely this person who just self-sabotages, who treats you poorly, and it's like you're like, what the hell? Like you're one way one moment, and then you're another way the next. And I think that is going to be complicated for anyone to understand. And this is kind of taking me back. I'm pretty sure the last Taurus reading I did was something along the lines of like, or the love reading was, no wonder you're so confused. I think was the title of it. I think that was Taurus. And I think that this reading is kind of giving similar energy there, where it's like, yeah, like, of course you're going to justify continuing to invest in this energy and continuing to give this person, your time, your love, your energy, because I do feel like at times they are that emperor or, that person that you want them to be. But then other times it's like their behavior is completely different here with the Knight of Wands in reverse. This person's energy toward Taurus. It just feels like this person has a lot of growing up to do, a lot of work to do on themselves. Oh, but they're stubborn. Ooh, very, very stuck in their ways. So 7 of Wands with the 6 of Cups very much gives like kind of stuck in their ways, which is interesting because I think that, I do feel like Taurus is, the kind of the stereotype is like that you guys are very stubborn. But it's just interesting. It's like that's why you and this person butt heads a lot, is because this person's really stubborn too. I'm not saying, I often think that sometimes the generalization of zodiac signs is taken a little bit too far. So I'm not saying you have to be stubborn. But I do very much feel that in this person is definitely giving this energy of very stubborn. It's like doesn't want to have to change, or doesn't want to have to grow, or doesn't want to have to put in the work. Maybe always needs to be right, or always has a justification, like just kind of a little closed-minded. But it's obvious that their energy isn't very fair. Let me clarify that. So this 8 of Pentacles. It's like they put the work in, but in the wrong ways. What does that really mean? It's like you're asking for love and commitment, and 3 of Pentacles in reverse with the 5 of Cups. Oh. It's like you're asking for love and commitment and validation, and they're giving you like empty promises. Like it's like maybe they say all the right things, but they never back it up, because it feels like the behavior is what's lacking. Like I don't feel like the feelings are lacking. I don't feel like, the intention is bad. One of the things that I've learned a lot, and just like kind of learning how to handle conflict resolution and in general, like just navigate relationships, is that oftentimes when people hurt you, they don't have bad intentions, which is why when you approach them from a place of like, you hurt me, people have a tendency to get really defensive, is because they don't mean to do that. They don't want to do that. But I've also learned, kind of being on the flip side of that, when I haven't meant to hurt someone else, but I did, that learning that just because I didn't have the intention of hurting someone doesn't negate the fact that somebody is hurting. And I think that that's what's hard, is people struggle to recognize that if somebody comes to them with like hey, you did this and this upset me, or you did this and this hurt me, or whatever the case is, our first initial response is no, I didn't. When in reality, the response should be like, oh my gosh, I definitely didn't mean to, but let me analyze what I did so I can change my behavior. And it feels like this is someone that maybe has a tendency to get very well, you don't have a right to feel that way. Almost like kind of like dismiss your feelings a little bit about the way that you about their behavior. And maybe not all the time, maybe they do come around, but I do feel like this person disappoints you a lot. I feel like there's a lot of talk, not a whole lot of action, not a whole lot of behavior, a lot of empty promises. And I feel like it's hard because I do feel like this person has the intention to back those up, but then when it comes down to it, they don't put in the work. When it comes down to it, they self-sabotage. When it comes down to it, they don't show up. When it comes down to it, they're not committed. And that doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with like where they're at in their own personal journey. You know, commitment to another person is a direct reflection of how much someone is committed to themselves. If someone isn't committed to doing the work on themselves and to showing up as the best person that they can, they're not going to be committed to doing that for you. And I think a lot of times, and this is where it's so important, is not taking it personally when other people don't show up the way that you want them to or desire them to or know that they can, is because they're struggling more with that relationship with themselves than they are with you at all. And I think sometimes we have to learn to separate that. I think in addition to that, when it comes to this person, one of the things that is really, really important is I just feel like this person isn't at the same place as you emotionally or like growth wise, like healing wise. That doesn't mean that you're better than them. That doesn't mean that they're not just as deserving of love. But what it does mean is that what you're asking for out of this might be something that this person is just straight up not capable of. And if they're very stuck in their ways, there's probably no indication that there is going to be any growth or is any progress. And I feel like you see that and you recognize that, and that's what's needing to be addressed, is this understanding that, yes, you know, I think that choosing ourselves in relationships is incredibly difficult. Actually, I think that choosing ourselves and setting boundaries is often easy when we're not really afraid to lose somebody else. When we're not afraid of creating distance between us and somebody that we're dealing with. But when we struggle with really seeing the potential in someone and really desiring, this outcome that we have in mind, we have this tendency to look past a lot more or to hold back a lot more because we don't want to ruin it, right? But anything that requires you to abandon like your needs or your desires or even your authenticity is not in alignment with what is really meant for you. And I'm not saying this isn't. What I am saying is it's misaligned as of right now. And that doesn't mean it can never get there. But what it does mean is that you are not in a position, or you should not put yourself in a position to tolerate where this person is at if they're not willing to grow. Because their unwillingness to grow is not a reflection on how much they care about you or what your value is. It's a reflection on their commitment to themselves. And I feel like with this wrong time and place and this some people never changes, it's just like maybe if this person were to grow or heal or evolve or change in the ways that you desire, then things could probably work. But first of all, I don't see any indication of that. That doesn't necessarily mean there isn't any, but just based on kind of the energies that are at play, I don't see any indication of that. And I feel like you can also recognize that there isn't an indication of that because you've been stuck in the same cycle. I feel like this person has a tendency to kind of come back to the same patterns, same behaviors, even if, they say they're going to change or they say that things are going to be different or better, whatever the case might be. And I think that one of the best things that my therapist ever taught me was that we cannot take other people's capacity to love personally. If other people aren't going to show up for us, then that's not a reflection of our value or of our worth whatsoever. It's a reflection of how much somebody else is willing to work for something that is valuable or that is worth it. And that is not, that's not a reflection of you at all. That's a reflection of them and the work that they need to do. So in between this connection, you don't love me with commitment. We're going to dive deeper into these messages, looking at the deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so, so much, Taurus, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.